Good evening. Welcome to the 8 p.m. edition of the Urban Debate special broadcast. Tonight, for the next 2 hours, we will be discussing the historic milestone that India has achieved. Vaccinating and giving 100 crore doses. 100 crore doses, viewers, is not a small feat. And we've managed to do this in 10 months. Despite all the hurdles, despite the challenges, the big hiccups, the actually unusually long delays in the initial few months, despite all of that, we have managed to reach this 100 crore dose benchmark. So tonight on the Urban Debate, for the next 2 hours, we are going to discuss with a team of experts multiple angles. Celebrations aside, congratulatory messages aside, COVID is still here, and we must talk about the road from here on. So we're going to talk about the vaccine drive, road and challenges ahead. How are the metros, the states really faring in vaccination? We'll get you exhaustive data about your city and your state and how close you are to hopefully a life of normalcy. We're going to talk about vaccination for vaccinating all adults by December. That was the plan. Is that plan on track? Is it realistic now than it seemed 3 months ago? We're going to talk about vaccinating India's children. Vaccines have got approvals, but where have they reached? All of this over the next 2 hours. But first up, let me tell you the exact numbers. Total doses administered, over 100 crore, 55 lakh as of this evening. Total population that is fully vaccinated, both doses, is 29.5 crore in our country. So we still have a long way to go. These numbers also help put things in perspective for you. People who've got at least one dose, 71 crore people have got at least one dose. In percentage terms, now this is the percentage of the eligible population, so it doesn't factor in those below the age of 18. 32% are fully vaccinated. 76% have got at least one shot. But there are 24% still in our country who haven't even taken that one shot. That's the national picture. I am now going to go across to Aarti Subramaniam, who is joining me with a breakdown for a few of the cities from Delhi to Mumbai. The idea really is to know how your city is faring and how close you are to getting back to a normal life. Can you go to malls? Can you go to the restaurants? Are schools, should schools be fully open? Should public transport be full-fledged? All of that really depends on this vaccination data, Aarti, that you have for us.
Yes, Tanvi, thanks so much for that. And we decided we'll do a bit of a deep dive into the numbers. We'll tell you how your city stands when it comes to vaccination. We're picking 6 top cities to give you a perspective of how many people have been completely inoculated, partially inoculated, and what really that means for you. Let's start off with the national capital itself. Delhi, of course, had a massive outbreak of the second wave during the peak. It was a really grim situation there. Now, in the national capital, the first dose, 1.28 crore people have taken the first dose, and the second dose is 70 lakh. Now, in terms of percentage, that is about 47% of the population in Delhi, those who are eligible, have taken both shots, while a single dose, that's 85%. It's the first, if you just look at the single dose, that's an impressive figure. When it comes to fully vaccinated, that's under half the city that's eligible. And that's actually a story that you'll see as we go along, repeating in several other cities. Let's go across to Mumbai, which has always seen very brisk vaccination. You've seen queues and queues outside the vaccination centers. The first dose has been taken by 89.71 lakh of the population, and the second, 52.33 lakh have taken the second dose. Now, what does that mean in terms of percentage? Let's start off with a single dose. 97% has taken a single dose, whereas fully vaccinated is 57%. So over half the eligible population of Mumbai has actually taken the second doses of vaccines as well. Now, Bengaluru is another city where there was initial hesitancy when it comes to vaccination. The first dose, 78.34 lakh, and the second dose, that's those who are fully vaccinated, is 47.68. In terms of percentage, again, the single dose, extremely creditable. 85% of the city have taken at least one dose of the vaccine, those who are eligible. When it comes to fully vaccinated, 52%, slightly over half the eligible population have been fully jabbed. In Chennai, and we heard some voices from Chennai doctors today actually saying that there is a certain level of complacency that has crept in. There is a certain level of hesitancy when it comes to the second dose. Does that translate into the numbers? Well, the first dose, 44.26 lakh people, and the second dose, that's those who are fully vaccinated, is 24.31. So in Chennai, less than half the percentage of the city's population that is eligible for vaccination. It's only 44%. We've seen some cities crossing the 50% mark. Chennai is still at 44%. But the single dose, at least 80% of the city have taken at least one dose of the vaccine. Let's go across to Chandigarh up north. Let's see what those numbers are like. First dose, 9.21 lakh, and the second dose, 5.18 lakh of the population that are eligible have been vaccinated. The single dose, well, 100%, they're extremely creditable. When it comes to the second dose, those who are fully vaccinated, 61%. That's again, compared to the other metros, Chandigarh has done very well. They've had more than half the city's population actually vaccinated, in fact, higher than some of the others that you've seen in the likes of Mumbai and in Bengaluru. And finally, let's also look at Ahmedabad. The first dose, 46.33 lakh, whereas the second dose, it's those who are fully vaccinated, 24.64 lakh of the city's eligible population has been vaccinated. In terms of numbers, again, a great achievement. 99.9% of the eligible population has taken at least one dose, and 53%, over half the city's population, have taken the second dose as well and are fully jabbed. So Tanvi, in terms of the numbers, certainly first dose, extremely impressive all across India. But the problem area perhaps, and you know, this is something that hopefully will be fixed in the coming days, is the second dose of vaccine as well. It is something that doctors and people on the ground have spoken about, of a complacency that is set in. A lot of people say, oh, we've gotten one dose, so we might not need the second. But it is something certainly that needs a targeted approach now.
All right, Aarti, to be honest, when I was looking at those numbers, I was secretly also rooting for Mumbai to be on top of the table. But then you brought along Ahmedabad and Chandigarh, which obviously have fared much better. But ours is also an extremely large city with a very high population density. So I think not too bad as far as Mumbai is concerned. 97% of the people have got at least one shot, and at least over half of them are fully vaccinated. That's the picture of few of the cities that we've brought for you. We'll also tell you more data about the states themselves, and the big states, the states that we've constantly tracked, and the situation there. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what these statistics mean for our metro cities. Just, you know, can Mumbai open up further? Can we lower our guard a little bit more? Can Delhi do so? Can businesses resume? And can these cities really still open up in isolation? Because once the movement starts and intense travel starts, which already to a great extent it has, then what does it mean? I have lots of questions in my head. So let's go across to the experts who are joining me this evening. Professor Vidya Sagar of LIT Hyderabad, head of the National COVID-19 Supermodel Committee. Dr. Rajiv Das Gupta, chairperson for the Center for Social Medicine and Community Health at JNU, member of the National COVID Task Force. Dr. Rahul Pandit, director for critical care for Fortis Hospital here in Mumbai, member of the Maharashtra Task Force. Dr. Vishal Rao, member of the Karnataka COVID Task Force, joins us this evening. Dr. Chandrakant Lahiriya, vaccine and public policy and health systems expert, also with us this evening. We'll also have Dr. Sanjukta Datta, emergency head for Fortis Kolkata, with me. Good to have all of you. It's been, and I must say, I want to also thank all of you for being part of this journey with us for 18 months. And I'm sure for at least a few more months, we'll have a lot more conversations about this. But it's been a good journey so far. We've had very interesting, exhaustive conversations about all things COVID. And tonight, I want to know from all of you medical experts as to where we stand and how you see. Dr. Chandrakant Lahiriya, let's start with you.
So, good evening, everyone. And then I think this is a momentous day for the country, especially if we go back to mid of last year. In mid of June 2020, people were talking about that it will take at least around 18 months to 2 years for our COVID-19 vaccine to become available. So that was the timeline which was being thought for the vaccines itself, availability of vaccines. And here we are, 18 months since that timeline that India has administered 100 crore shots. So definitely this is a very big achievement for the country. We should congratulate and we should thank that India has a strong history of 150 years plus in the vaccine production. It has a 45-year-old vaccination program. So it proves that if we have a strong foundation based upon supply on policy, on the ground level delivery, we can achieve a lot. So this is a day to celebrate. I would really want to, though this is being said repeatedly, but it's worth repeating that we should thank the vaccinators, frontline workers, doctors, nurses, everyone who has been involved in this work. Having said that, I also want to highlight that when talking about COVID-19, we should be mindful of that we should look backward to plan forward. And while we should celebrate 100 crore shots, big achievement, we can derive many lessons and we can utilize those lessons for the future. The final point is that the vaccination program in India is the strongest government-run program in the country. If it would have done any poorer, I would have been a little disappointed. So it has matched the expectation, but it also shows many other things, that if government has will, political will and right planning, we can actually tackle many other health challenges. The tuberculosis can be eliminated or many other health services can be strengthened. Another key learning from this experience in last 9 or 10 months is that we need to remember, and we have discussed this on this program, that it is the government sector, 90 to 95% of the total COVID-19 vaccines have been delivered by government health system. That shows the power and potential of government health system, that what can be achieved. And even when the vaccines were available in private sector, people were preferred government vaccine facility. So it shows many other things. I can keep go on, but I'll return during the discussion.
Yes, absolutely. But thank you for those opening remarks. Dr. Rajiv Das Gupta, say 3 months ago or 4 months ago as well, when we were having conversations of rise in cases falling, various cities, the way they were strategizing to open or not open in the aftermath of the second wave, experts would tell us that we'll have to wait till December at least for a significant change in the situation. Do you believe we are on track with that? And that gradually we can begin to plan some sense of a normal life or business life at least?
Oh, yes, absolutely. What hasn't really received attention in the media discourse is the Sero survey result from Haryana in the last 3 days. And I'll just summarize the key findings from Haryana. Districts which are as urban as, say, Gurugram has a seropositivity of 78%. Its neighboring district, predominantly rural, but certainly a huge extent of rural-urban interaction, Mahendragarh, a seropositivity of 81.6%. In other words, Haryana's seropositivity is around 80%. The breakup is 81.6% following vaccination and 75.5% what the report terms as in course of natural process. 78% urban, 75% rural. Most importantly, children, nearly 70% have antibodies in the age group of 6 to 9 and 73% in the age group of 10 to 17. Now, this is really what's going to shape decisions and the way that the pandemic will progress in the next few months. This is actually good news, barring the losses we have suffered in the second wave led by the Delta variant. What would be very crucial as we go along is to keep track of emerging variants through genomic surveillance, which is certainly being strengthened, more labs coming into the network, and the vaccination process, as Chandrakant very rightly said, on firm footing.
Well, it's very interesting,
In fact, Delhi's Sero survey results are also expected soon. It would bring perhaps very similar figures.
So you're saying that, what you're also expecting for Delhi, just like what we've seen in Haryana, is that almost 75 to 80% of the population does have antibodies, then depending on the region in that state, and hopefully in the same in the national capital and perhaps elsewhere as more and more states come up with their information. So let's look at some of these other cities and other states. And Professor Vidyasagar, good evening to you. We've had conversations about various data points and projections. As things stand now, with this kind of a zero prevalence, with this kind of a data, at least in the big cities, about the percentage of people who've at least got one shot, to your mind, I'm not too sure if Professor Vidyasagar is able to hear me. Professor Vidyasagar, are you able to hear me? Okay, I'm going to take that question across to Dr. Rahul Pandit and we'll get back to him in just a bit. To your mind, Dr. Rahul Pandit, in Mumbai, what does it mean for us to go about our work? And Mumbai is a tricky one because the population density is so high that it's always been a challenge for us.
Absolutely. Good evening. I think Zero survey after Zero survey done in the last 2 or 3 months which have come out have consistently shown that most of the cities have now got an antibody prevalence of at least 80%, just around that number. And with the vaccination drive progressing at a phenomenal rate at which it is, I see that in the coming months, gradually, we are probably going to open up more and more. As you would know that Maharashtra government has now given some more relaxations in terms of schools and colleges and timings for restaurants and theaters and stuff. And that's been done probably in a painfully slow manner, but in the right way to keep up with the safety precautions as well as to make sure that each step has been taken up with a good thought process behind that. And I believe that as we would have the vaccination covered for Mumbai, which would probably have its 100% first dose vaccination in the next few days, and perhaps go up to 70 or 80% with the second dose in the next few months or so, we should see that the relaxations would be even better for the Mumbai metropolitan region. However, what you said is right. Mumbai is not only densely populated, but it has a lot of influx from the surrounding metropolitan area as well. And the areas surrounding Mumbai have not had those kind of vaccination figures which we are seeing in the Mumbai region. So we need to have that in mind before we actually open up things for people to come in and go out. And remember, Mumbai still, we are clocking around 300 to 500 cases, somewhere between that for the last almost 15-20 days. And this is giving us a test positivity rate of around 1 to 1.3%. The COVID has not really gone. And I would again emphasize the same thing, Tanvi, which I keep on saying. Mask is the best vaccine against all variants. Please don't give up on the mask. And start working and start going out as the relaxations are being given to you, but with a mask on.
Yeah, go out, but every time you do so with a mask, with your mask on. All right, that's the word coming in from Dr. Rahul Pandit. But let me bring in Dr. Vishal Rao as well. Dr. Vishal Rao, same story, even there. And at the end of the day, what one wants to know is, will the strategy be that access to only people who are double vaccinated in malls, movie theaters, public transport, or once we've hit these levels, it's okay to also allow everybody to move as long as you have your mask
on? Good evening. Thank you, Tanvi. What I would like to reiterate is, I think we have touched at about 78% of the eligible population have been vaccinated today. And, on an earlier note, what we would want to re-emphasize is up to 30-35% of the population are below the age group of 18, which still are left vulnerable. Now, at this juncture, it is very, very important for... Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, absolutely. Go ahead, please.
At this juncture, it's very important to understand that there is a race between the vaccines and the variants. And there needs to be an emphasis on transmission appropriate behavior, which is very, very crucial. Not just COVID appropriate behavior, and transmission appropriate behavior is a combination of your vaccination plus COVID appropriate behavior. My friend, Dr. Chandrakant Laharia, in our earlier session has re-emphasized on not to over-assume herd immunity. And I would like to use and reiterate what he had told earlier. It's very important to understand that we cannot enter into complacency phase by assuming that herd immunity is something close, and that's the mistake we've done earlier. We cannot rely on herd immunity this time. This time we have to be completely foolproof. And in this aspect, we need to understand that the latest data that is coming out globally from world over is showing that the Delta variant is got vaccine escape mutations. So it will continue to be vulnerable, and its efficacy is around 60 to 70% and not 100% foolproof against the Delta. So unless we get fully vaccinated, we cannot go complacent at this juncture. And I would like to close by congratulating Government of India, our Honorable Prime Minister, every state chief minister and the health ministers who have put these efforts in this area, and especially healthcare workers and the media also, who have played a pivotal role here to consistently beat the aspect and overcome vaccine associated hesitancy. Thank you.
Yes, you know, in fact, in some cases, there's still a battle to be fought there. For example, in Chennai, and Aarti was pointing this out earlier with the data that she had, people who are fully vaccinated is still 44% of the city's population. So Chennai as a big metro still has to do a lot more to at least have half its population get fully vaccinated. The single dose number is also 80%. And data also shows that the big concern for Chennai right now is that many people are not returning for their second dose. So many have actually missed that window and are not returning. So when our experts say that we cannot let our guard down and that COVID is still here and there's still so much to do, one of the things, for example, even for the authorities to do and everybody else, is to ensure that people come back for their second shot, unless of course all of them ended up getting COVID and now are not eligible for that vaccine shot. But otherwise, it's a big concern. And Chennai is a city that actually did struggle with a lot of vaccine hesitancy in the initial few months, and then they had to play catch up at that point. So that will be one thing to watch out for as well. But you know, to what you were saying, Dr. Vishal Rao, let me bring in Dr. Leharia again on that aspect. Dr. Leharia, to not take herd immunity for granted, what does that mean? And why are we saying that? Where is the doubt that it will not help us?
So we have reached that stage of pandemic where we need not to be necessarily worried, but we need to be careful and cautious. And now this is statement I'm making based upon two arguments. One side, we know that on 25th of June, that is a midpoint for a fourth nationwide sero survey, we know 2/3 or more of India's population had antibodies. And since then, we have seen a really accelerated pace of COVID-19 vaccination. We know 3/4 of India's adult population has received COVID-19 vaccine. Putting all of these together, there is a fairly good protection. But we know that this protection is at the individual level against a moderate to severe illness and disease and mortality. So what we know that it is still possible that transmission can go on unless people wear masks. So we can be fairly confident that if there is a rise in the cases, it would not result in excessive burden on the hospitals. But we cannot be assured whether it will result in reduced transmission unless people keep following COVID-appropriate behavior. So we have heard this discourse in the last many months that vaccines are for individual protection, but masks are for public protection, and both are required to fight this pandemic. We also need to be mindful that we are entering into a phase which is like festive season, and of course people are really tired of staying or doing whatever, and then economic activity we want to revive. Of course, that's what should be done. So putting all of those together, simply because somebody has got vaccinated should not result in overconfidence. People need to do festivities, but they need to keep wearing masks and other aspects. The last 2 points I want to make is that we are saying that 3/4 of India's population has been vaccinated, but 1/4 of adult population which has not started on COVID-19 vaccine still makes around 22 crore, which is a population, if it's alone will be population of second or third largest country in the world. So there is a wide group of population which is unvaccinated. Then we know that single shot is enough to provide some duration of protection, but we have to make sure that those people, 46% of adult population who has received their first shot, as and when their second shot is due, return for their second shot. And otherwise, like immunity wanes off really quickly and it will be challenging. So we need to protect the unprotected, not started, provide full protection to those who have started, and keep following COVID appropriate behavior. That will further reduce our worry and will prepare us for the situation where we can be a little more confident in the world.
Okay. Let me see if I can go across to Professor Vidyasagar now. Good evening to you. Can you hear me?
I think the question is not whether I can hear you, but whether you can hear me.
We can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Professor Vidyasagar, the conversation that we're having right now is about, how at least in the biggest of the metros.
I could hear all that.
Yes, so your views on that.
To hear their view. Yeah. No, I think they've all made some excellent points, and I've been taking notes, actually, as any professor should, about what they have said, and they're very right about the fact that we cannot relax. The only point I would make is the following. You see, India's experience with the Delta variant has been very different from the experience of the rest of the world. We started our vaccination for the general public on March 1st. Before that, it was only the frontline workers. And that was just about the time that the Delta variant hit India. Okay? So basically, the Delta variant hit a completely vaccine-naive population of India. That is why we had this really vicious second wave. Now, from India, the Delta variant has now spread all over the world. And when it has done so, you see that the rest of the world also has not fared particularly well. But the advantage we have, for example, Dr. Dasgupta was mentioning about the Haryana Sero survey. Even though the second wave was very fierce, they have actually come out of it, and an overwhelming majority of the population, including children, now has seroprevalence, seropositivity. So that means that in some sense, until and unless a much more virulent variant appears, the vaccination plus the inbuilt cellular immunity will be enough to protect us, provided, as other experts have pointed out, we continue to follow the COVID guidelines. Okay. Now, there is a program put in place by the government called INSACOG. All the experts would have heard about it.
Yes.
To keep track of the evolution of the virus. So what our team, the Sutra modeling team, has been doing is to figure out, number one, will there be a third wave with the present situation? And we feel no. And what will be the potential trigger for a third wave if there is a much more virulent, much more infectious variant? And the third and most important question is, assuming that such a variant occurs, what is the lead time we can give to the agencies that something untoward is about to happen? And we believe that we can give about a 3 to 4 weeks lead time. Mm-hmm. So that should be adequate for us to not be taken by surprise again with a future variant, if any, the way in which we were taken by surprise by the Delta variant. So I will stop there.
Okay, so that's an interesting point that you've raised. In fact, since you've made that point, let me go back to Dr. Rajiv Dasgupta. Dr. Dasgupta, as we open up, and I know all experts say that we should still follow the COVID protocol and keep the mask on. But look at the visuals, look at what's happening outside our own homes in all of the cities, and we're all from different cities here tonight. Hardly anybody does follow that, or at least even if they have a mask on somewhere, it's not on their nose and mouth. It's pretty much on any other part of the body. So if that's already happening but is not reflective in the number of cases, what should we make of that?
No, on one hand, the very high seropositivity is protective at this point. However, as all of us are essentially saying the same thing, that India actually has the largest population of un or partially immunized individuals, which would make it susceptible to what's known as hyperlocal outbreaks, wherever in subpopulations or communities, immunity may be relatively lower compared to the immunity in populations or communities that surround it. So hyperlocal outbreaks can certainly be possible. And those are the things, I mean, that's the thing to look out for, which may not necessarily, given that many are actually partially vaccinated, which may not necessarily overwhelm health systems, but it would certainly derail normalization. At the same time, the fact that substantial populations are vaccinated doesn't really mean that if they're infected, they would spread less, because the viral load often immunized person, if he or she gets infected, is exactly the same as one who is not immunized, and therefore mask is of unquestionable importance. But as we have seen right from the beginning, through all the phases of the pandemic, risk communication has really been one of our weakest links or weakest pillars in the approach to the pandemic management, and it still requires strengthening, and that's all of us what are essentially saying.
Okay. I in fact want to also highlight one other aspect, and while all of us agree that today is a landmark day in our journey, I do want to also highlight that India's daily average vaccination rate has come down significantly again in the last 1 month, and we've actually tried to remove some of the aberrations which were there on account of political occasions where high number of people are vaccinated. But if we take on an average what was happening as of September 1st, where we were managing to still give about 84 lakh doses every day, it's come down to on an average 40 to 45 lakh doses every day. And it's important to highlight this, Dr. Laharia, because it also needs to be reminded to people that we can't slow down on this. There is still a quarter of the percentage of our population that's not got even a single shot. And we still have to get out there. And then there are those below the age of 18 at some point.
So what we need to remember in this case that a few months ago, we were talking about that there is a vaccine hesitancy, and which actually kicks in once in any population group 60% or more coverage is achieved. But we know because of ferocious second wave, we have reached that 75% of targeted adult population has come for the vaccination. So a part of vaccine hesitancy were addressed because of the experience with the second wave. So we are doing really better. But we know that vaccine hesitancy, no matter which age group, no matter which vaccine, and especially COVID-19 vaccine, which are new, is a reality. So now remaining 24%, the challenge is really big. We know there are people who would not like to be vaccinated, but there are who still have some questions. So we should not be taking it for granted that this is only hesitant people, though today and now India has far greater supply than the demand, but it is very much possible. And that's what should be done through the use of the data. Government should be utilizing the available data to see that which are the population groups, so rural, urban, tribal, male, female, or any subgroup which is not being vaccinated, which is being left behind. What are the differences in the coverage? That's one part. Second part is that supply automatically does not mean access to the vaccination services. So COVID-19 vaccination still may be inaccessible to some population groups. So those should be addressed. The second part of this dimension is, and that's why it's slowing down in my opinion. One is that a new subgroup is not coming, but second part is that we need to remember that India has a slower rate of vaccination till late July. Rather, 50 crore of total shots were administered by 7th of August, if I remember it correctly. Majority of vaccination has had 2.5 months. Now, we need to remember that of the total vaccination, 87 to 88% is by Covishield vaccine. Yes. Now, if someone who has Covishield vaccine in the second week of August, they are still not eligible for the second shot. And that's why there is a wide gap in the first shot and second shot or fully vaccinated, because those people are waiting for their turn to come. And that's why it has come down. What we would see in the coming, everybody who would become eligible in the time ahead when vaccination rate accelerated. For example, if 17th September had seen 25 million shots, then 3 months from 17th September, people will turn up. So if we want to increase the daily vaccination rate, we have to focus both on bringing new people for the first shot. But second shot is something we need to make sure that somebody who is eligible does not delay it unnecessarily. We need to proactively follow up them also. But the challenge is on the both front, and that is how it will be done. But it's understandable that vaccination rate will be slower than it was earlier.
Yes, okay, that's actually quite insightful. This what you're explaining to us, that and I'm looking at the data. We managed to do about 40 crore doses, reach 40 crore landmark on July 17th, 60 crore landmark on August 25th, and then 80 crore on September 18th. And a month later, we've reached 100 crore. So like you said, we sped up after a certain point, and maybe that's the lot of people that will come later for their second dose, and that's what we need to watch out for. One other aspect, again, in terms of states that are doing well and some of the states that really need to buck up, and goes without saying that the states that are doing well are a lot of the smaller states, several of the northeastern states, and then states like Goa, etc. But these are the states that need to buck up. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, Madhya Pradesh, they have not even reached that 30% mark for fully vaccinated, fully jabbed population. And these are the states that will have to watch out for. Also, Professor Vidyasagar, these are also the states that are not particularly very famous for strong healthcare infrastructure. So in these places, we cannot afford to lower our guard. Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, big states here that need to pick up on the pace.
Yes, so you're quite right about that, the larger states have also the lowest penetration. So other than encouraging the state administrations to reach out to the most remote parts of the state, there is not much we can do. One point you did not mention, which I feel is very crucial, is that all those states which have very low vaccination rates are also very rural. So that means the mix between the urban and the rural population is very much tilted towards the rural side. So that is an explanation, not an excuse, as the old saying goes. So the state government has to be encouraged. For example, some of the state governments I know have taken very imaginative steps like mobile vaccination centers, so that you don't wait for the people to come to you, you go to the people. But you're right, until and unless we go to the people, we won't be able to increase that figure. With your permission, I would like to just reinforce what Dr. Rajiv Dasgupta has said, and I'm very happy he said it. He said, the high seropositivity protects us now. Emphasis on the word now. The point is that, you see, people often use the phrase vaccine hesitancy to mean two completely different things. One is true hesitancy. People are scared about what will happen if I take this vaccine, will I get sick, will I die, blah, blah, blah. But there's a completely different phenomenon, which I like to call vaccine complacence. That is, I have got one dose, I have recovered from corona 3 months ago, cases are going down, so do I really need the second dose? So here the point of Dr. Dasgupta is so vital, that yes, all of these factors may protect you now. But if you want to have protection over the long term, you must make sure that you get the second dose. He also said something else which I liked. He said communication has been our weakest link. And, you know, to some extent, ordinary citizens like the 5 of us that you invited, we keep saying this to our respective audiences. But, you know, our audiences are very small.
Yes.
It's the media, the political establishment that really needs to step up and then keep giving this message and really say that 100 crores is a milestone. It's not the destination. I think we have to keep making that distinction over and over again.
Well, you know, since you brought up the aspect of seroprevalence, that was a point that I did want to bring up again as well. And we will, of course, at the 9 p.m. conversation also go into the details of it. But since I have the experts here, Dr. Rahul Pandit, many of those, especially in the big cities, who did get their first and second shot quickly, are now asking about, well, do I need a booster shot? Great, we've reached this point, and significant percent of the population has the first shot. Should I now start preparing for my booster shot?
So I'm going to start off with where Professor Vidyasagar just left. He said that 100 crore is a milestone. I think it's almost job half done. We still have halfway mark to go through. We still have 190 crore doses approximately, plus or minus that number, to complete our entire adult population to be vaccinated. And I would say that we should absolutely talk about the booster dose, no doubt about that. But it is still talking means collecting data, doing studies, understanding when to give the booster dose, and which, maybe it's the same vaccine we give, or is it going to be a mix and match vaccine that we give? And in the meantime, try and achieve maximum coverage for our population to have at least one round of complete vaccination done. I think that's where we need to talk about. I think the time will come in a few months' time, maybe, when the booster dose will be given. We will have to also prioritize the population probably which is immunocompromised. WHO has recently given the permission for immunocompromised to be vaccinated now. I think that's the way we will have to think. It will have to be a scientific approach. Then perhaps the people who are working in emergency department, ICUs, COVID, corona wards and centers, maybe they could be the ones among the healthcare population to be selected first. And then we would have the rest of the population and the healthcare workers come across. I think that kind of a strategy will have to be done for the booster shot. We cannot just open it up for all citizens who finished their vaccination in the early part of this year. But yes, we need to talk about it. We need to plan it. And I'm pretty sure that's been already done at various stages in the government.
Yes, Dr. Vishal Rao, would you like to weigh in on this as well?
Yeah, I think, Tanvi, the important point here is that while this discussion on booster dose is coming up, it's very important to understand that the original formula of the vaccines that were prepared were based on the D614G, which is the first form of the virus that hit India, the Wuhan strains. Now, we know that the virus has after that gone through a lot of transition and change. And the current Delta variant or the newer variants that we are seeing today are already showing characteristics of vaccine escape mutations. So the bigger questions that global scientific communities across are trying to address is booster dose the answer, or would we completely need a fresh vaccine? At the current juncture, even the US FDA has not given a clear mandate on this. They are really looking into it and are prioritizing booster doses only for healthcare workers because of waning antibodies. And there is no final verdict at this juncture. But the WHO, on the other hand, gave a moratorium requesting the world that there are countries of the world where the low-income countries, the vaccination rates have still been at 2.9% or less than 5%. Now, that's a real global inequality in vaccination, which also the worlds need to take responsibility for before we start talking about booster, to understand how do you protect the global village today, rather than just look at one aspect of it. So I think these are ethical debates around vaccine inequalities also which need to be addressed before we talk about booster and the science of booster dose, rather than just talk about its availability. And the coming days, I think, and I think from what I understand, the WHO's request was to hold on to booster dose until most of the countries of the world have at least achieved 10% of vaccination. Yeah. So there is a scientific debate, there is an ethical debate in this, and hopefully the coming days will give us more clarity.
Well, I completely agree with you, and this is, of course, a big debate across the world. But realistically speaking, I don't know how many nations are going to listen to either the WHO or anybody else when it comes to protecting their own people in times like these, in unprecedented times. For example, just today, Pfizer, BioNTech have come out and said that their COVID vaccine booster dose is 95.6%, showing 95.6% efficacy. So, Dr. Rajiv Dasgupta, the conversation is already on. Many are already doing this, and of course, the pharmaceutical companies are also pushing for it.
No, Dr. Rahul Pandit's, what he articulated is absolutely correct. In fact, the world would be battling this competitive demand between a booster of those who are vaccinated with two doses and vaccine inequity. And vaccine inequity is a global concern. Vaccine inequities are concerns of every countries. While this 1 billion doses looks good as an overall achievement, certainly it is good. But then there are pockets of inequity, and the challenge is to be able to track those inequities, to reach those inequities and address those. So this is something which is going to be a constant battle, if I may, of competitive demands.
Yes, absolutely. Let me also say good evening to Dr. Sanjukta Datta, emergency head at Fortis in Kolkata, also joining us. Dr. Sanjukta, again, we come to you at a time when festivities have just about come to an end with Durga Puja in Kolkata. But what is the extent of coverage, vaccine coverage that the city has managed? Can people begin to talk about more opening up, or because of what we've seen in the last 2-3 weeks, does Kolkata need to be extra careful right now?
Yeah, thanks for calling me. Actually, I can see that people are talking about all aspects of this. But yes, from a doctor's point of view, I head an emergency department and I see this COVID patient day in and day out. Right in this festive season, I was really scared because what will happen after this festival, because people are going out without mask. They are not taking any protections. So what I feel over here is, it's not that Kolkata is not vaccinated enough. People are taking vaccinations. Whenever we are getting patients, mostly they are vaccinated. But couple of things I would like to tell, and I really want people to know. Just today, I had a patient who was telling me, how come I can be positive? I am double vaccinated. I hear this kind of thoughts and this kind of words every day. People are thinking they have got the vaccine, so they will not have the disease. I told one lady that your mom has got COVID. She said it is not possible. You please recheck. You please do the test once again. Are we all positive? Because all of us has got fever at home. So basically, the people are having this idea that we will not have COVID if we are vaccinated. One thing they need to remember, that COVID vaccine gives protection against COVID. That severe COVID infection will not happen. It can protect from death to a big extent, but it is not 100%. And definitely it will not prevent the patient from getting COVID, or it will not stop him from spreading COVID if he gets it. So that is one thing I would like to tell everybody. Yes, people are vaccinated, but they shouldn't have this misconception regarding vaccines.
Yes, actually, that's a very important point. And while we may have actually said this ad nauseum on our channel in the last 18 odd months, and especially so in the last few months, that, just because you've got 2 vaccine shots doesn't mean that you lose your mask. You still need to wear it. You can still not only get it yourself, but you could also possibly infect a lot more people without realizing it. So that part remains. I want to go back to a point that we were making earlier, and Dr. Rajiv Dasgupta, that question to you first, about strategies that we need to follow in some of these larger states where still 75% of the population is yet to be fully vaccinated, and what needs to be done there. Also, there are large rural parts here, which is why it will become even more difficult to reach out maybe and get people in.
That's really the challenge ahead, and I would link back to what Professor Vidyasagar was really alerting us to. So to take that further forward, the WHO Euro Vaccine Communications Working Group has this, calls the 3 C's model, which is complacency, confidence, and convenience. Now, essentially, the Indian states, or even the Indian cities, and sometimes, as we know, with other urban health issues, the crisis is actually much larger in smaller towns than big cities, which may seem counterintuitive, but that's the way urban health plays out. Now, where we have achieved relatively high levels of vaccination, say a Mumbai or a Delhi, that's where we will have to encounter complacency, which is because the perceived risk of the disease in question will be low, which will be strengthened by the seropositivity rates that we are seeing. So the seropositivity rate will protect on one hand, but this will also instill vaccine complacency, which is necessary to be addressed. On the other hand, the predominantly rural states where we have seen much less coverage than some of the cities, that's where we have issues of vaccine convenience, which is essentially an issue of reaching out, whether through outreach services and so on and so forth, to which the immunization program is very well attuned. But it's certainly it's an enormous task because the absolute numbers are very large. And therefore, what communication professionals and communication needs are is going to be extremely nuanced. There is no one India plan. And it is important to understand this nuance. It's important to build communication strategies based on what coverage is, what the seroprevalence is, and therefore a far more grounded approach than we already have. We still have predominantly a one India plan of sorts.
Yes.
That's something we need to move beyond now.
Okay, so we need to move beyond that one India plan. Very quickly, closing remarks from you, Dr. Leheria, on the way forward from here on. Celebrations are done, congratulatory messages given, but the job's not fully done yet. What's the way forward?
The first way forward is that government should use the available vaccination data to understand the differences in the immunization coverage and design a strategy according to that. That's one. Second, government should be using the professional agency to identify the reasons for the vaccine hesitancy and develop a really targeted communication strategy on the populations as per their apprehensions, fear. Like it cannot be traditional billboard in the town hall in the center of the city. It has to be more personalized approach on communication. And third and most important, I think what we are missing now and what would provide a really useful data is that we need to strengthen adverse event following immunization reporting for various age groups. We actually need to know in the public domain that which type of adverse events, minor, rare, or whatever. So these are the three areas which can mature and kind of immunization program, COVID-19 vaccination drive. If we do these three, I'm sure the experts know other aspects also, but these three will be really useful for the time ahead.
All right, on that note, thank you so much to all of you for joining me on this conversation. A long way to go, but this is a good place to be to begin with, and we have to use the lessons so far and what the data is showing us, what we have managed to achieve so far, the research that has come up. We have to use all of that to now decide how we want to proceed. I'm not done yet with this conversation. There's a lot more on the other side. That's where we're going to bring in the 5 big questions that we have about India's way forward. We're going to talk about booster dose a lot more. We're going to talk about vaccination for children a lot more. So stay with us here on The Urban Debate.